Welcome to the Real Estate Jam session. I've been reading a lot about QSRs and why now is a great time to be investing in them. So I asked George Pino to come in. George is the CEO of Commercial Brokers International in Los Angeles. You've done deals in what, 36 states?
About 36 states, yeah.
36 states. He has like 4 or 5 deals under contract right now. So who better than come in and tell us what's going on in this marketplace? But, George, I've been reading this and, it just seems like it's a great time to be investing in them.
Absolutely. I've always liked QSRs, or quick service restaurants, also known as fast food restaurants. And, the primary reason for that is a lot of it has to do with the innovation that has come about. I mean, a lot of the changes in the restaurant industry were actually instituted and started by quick service restaurant chains. Everything from the McDonald's or In-N-Out with the simple menus and assembly line kind of structure, but also innovations nowadays that we're seeing that make them also a little bit more pandemic resistant, as we've seen in the last few years, as well as a good hedge against inflation.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, I want to give you, at the end of this, I want you to give me your top 3 favorite QSR.
But thanks for the heads up. I'm going to have to start thinking about it.
Yeah, I want to give them a little heads up on that. But, I think it's during the pandemic, especially, all the inside seating, everybody got shut down. So QSRs had a real opportunity to really expand and take over. And they did that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see it going forward then? Do you think there's just going to be more adaptability? Is there more that they can do right now?
Absolutely. We're already seeing that. To start off with, we've seen the adaptability for the QSR industry. Everything from the way they design it. Originally it was literally drive-ins, so to speak, and then it turned into drive-throughs.
Yeah.
Then they realized that with 60 to 70% of sales coming through the drive-through, if they can have more throughput and quicker turnaround, then they're going to have more business. So they start doing double drive-throughs. Yeah. Now we're seeing models. There are a couple companies out there that have created drive-through only locations where even the kitchen is above ground. You have 3 or 4 drive-through lanes.
I saw that. Was that Taco Bell or Del Taco or one of them?
Burger King.
Burger King.
Burger King, I believe. Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and curbside.
So
they're not just doing the drive-throughs; they're doing curbside as well.
Absolutely. They have one lane specifically geared toward pickup for either curbside pickup or also for the delivery companies like DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats. And then they have the other lane set up just for people actually going through picking up their own food to eat on the run.
Are you finding that a lot of them are still doing more automation where, if you're in Starbucks, you'll see people come in and they'll look at their phone and go over and then food is. Are you seeing that happening a lot with the food, or continuing to happen?
Absolutely. The apps themselves, they have the way they look at it and the way the quick service restaurant industry, the whole fast food industry has evolved, especially in the last just few years, where, we had the pandemic didn't just cause problems where it was being able to go into the restaurant, but it was also labor shortages. And they did a lot of innovation to do that. Number one was the apps. They're doing special apps. They're getting people to engage. They're having huge downloads. And they're doing this by putting, McDonald's, for instance, brought back a dipping sauce for their chicken nuggets that was a fan favorite way back in the day. But the only way you could get it was a teriyaki. Like a teriyaki, I know.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Exactly. So they brought it back for a limited time, but the only way you get it is on their app. So it was downloaded. They downloaded all their apps, and
smart.
Everything from Panera's doing a club where it's free drinks. You pay a certain amount a month.
If you download the app.
Download the app, and it's like $5 or $8 a month. I can't remember the exact amount, but it's as many drinks as you want for the entire month.
Oh, wow.
So, they're going that route to get the engagement of the people, but also you're starting to see innovation in, even ordering, a kiosk. If you put one kiosk there, that's one employee that may not have to take an order.
Right.
So you have ordering kiosks that are up front now, and that's cutting on the labor shortage and being able to facilitate improvements with customer service. Next, we're also starting to see robotics, which are amazing.
I was going to say, I just read this morning that, there's 11.5 million jobs available. And, robotics, and you keep seeing that these fast food chains, there's the burger flipping, I don't know the names of these, so
Yeah.
if you know them, go ahead. But
No, I don't.
yeah, I mean, they're really making it to
Yeah.
where they're not going to need labor,
Mhm.
so it's not going to be a problem.
It's going to be minimal labor, and we're seeing that already. And the robotics, and it's interesting in that the fast food industry was the first one to really embrace this.
Right.
We're starting to see it in a little bit of fine dining. I just was
Pizza place, right?
reading pizzas and things like that, but also in fine dining, where I just was watching a documentary on this, specifically on robotics, where very high-end steakhouses are using robots where they're using electronic eyes to determine the cut, where the cut of meat is, the type of fat, how much fat is in it, so it can actually tell the grade of the meat, and then it can measure the grill heat. And now it's just a factor of science and numbers and math to figure out exactly how long it needs to be on that grill, flip it to make a perfect temperature steak out that typically a chef would have to do, and it can handle multiple 20 steaks at one time.
So you're cutting labor costs down by a big percentage.
Tremendous. And right now, I was shocked during the pandemic, and still to this day, I can walk across the street. There's a McDonald's in Los Angeles.
Oh,
They're offering $16 an hour starting wage. That's $30,000 a year. So if they can save that with just a kiosk,
yeah.
this is
And
something.
your
Payroll taxes and everything else on top of that. Absolutely. So, the great part about that is that the industry tends to evolve with the changes that happen, and they adapt very quickly. And, it's always been said, it's not the survival of the fittest, it's the survival of the most adaptable. And
Right.
the QSR industry has shown that they are definitely one of the most adaptable industries out there.
One thing too is where you've got a group of franchisees, because I'm addicted to this show that's on. Who's the guy that was he would go eat all the food? The Man versus
Food,
that
Adam,
guy, yeah.
Adam Reichling.
Yeah, him. So he's got a new show, and it's about how food was different companies have started, and it's really an interesting show. But it's amazing to me how McDonald's, all these other fast food franchises, some of the franchisees came up with ideas that are now implemented.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's also another good thing to deal with these QSRs is these guys come up with ideas and they get implemented.
Yeah. It's the best of both worlds, because
Right.
you have a large corporate structure that it puts a lot of money into R&D, and they start looking at new types of products and what can happen. But also you have franchisees that some of them are large, some of them are a little bit smaller, but they also some of them have a little bit more leeway to test out new things of what they can do. For instance, for McDonald's, that's how the Filet-O-Fish sandwich came about. Also the breakfast sandwich, which, breakfast now accounts for, 50% of all sales, I believe, in the fast food industry.
Yeah. No, I think it's very powerful. All right. So let's talk about numbers. When you have an investor, obviously you've got these franchisees and they own 4, 5, 6. When you have an investor looking to invest in the business or into the real estate, is that something you would look for as an operator that has 4 or 5?
Absolutely. Actually, I would look for something a little bit more.
Okay.
And it's all a factor of risk versus reward. So, if it's a smaller franchisee, you may offer a little bit less money or a higher cap rate in return for the risk. But, typically speaking, most banks are looking for, and I say banks because they tend to be a little bit risk adverse. We kind of follow the same criteria that they do. A lot of banks look to have at least 15 units or more.
Okay.
So, when you start looking at 15, but you also want to make sure, and here's a dirty little secret, that all the units are cross-collateralized so that they are guaranteeing the lease.
Okay.
Many times, I just looked at a franchisee that owned 19 units, very high-performing locations and stores throughout the Chicago metro. However, and they're doing a 20-year sale leaseback on 6 of them, but they were only guaranteeing the lease with the one location. So each separate location had their own LLC. So even though the franchisee had 19 locations, so that really is not a 19 unit guarantee. It's a 1 unit guarantee, and that's where you have to take that into consideration. And then you have some of the behemoths. There are some companies that the largest KFC franchise has over 820 units. That's larger. That's more units than In-N-Out corporate. and Del Taco Corporate, or Raising Cane's.
Right.
So, you look at some of these franchisees that control, Carroll's and Company is publicly traded. They have over 1,000 units of Burger Kings and, quite a few Popeyes.
Mhm.
They're publicly traded. They control over 15% of all the franchises of Burger Kings
What are their
in the
cap
US.
rates looking like?
Surprisingly, and no, I didn't choke because they were that bad. Surprisingly, they're actually not bad.
Really?
Their cap rates, you're still seeing cap rates in today's day and age about 5 or so,
Okay.
for depending on the lease structure and how long of a term of the lease is. Anywhere from 4.75 to 5.
Okay. What do you see happening now? Is the
Mm-hmm.
next few days, interest rates are going up. It's tomorrow we're going to get a half point rate pop, at least. What do you think going forward? The next 12 to 24 months in
Mhm.
the QSR.
Initially, I don't think the interest rates are going to have a big effect, because the commercial loans typically use different metrics when as far as how they're the interest rates are calculated for them, as opposed to residential loans, which you see a quick bump right away.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of the anticipation for the interest rate hike in the next few days has already been built into some of the loan structures as well. Where I do see it happening, though, is in 6 months, 9 months, as the treasury yields change. That is essentially competition for, you have tax-free municipal bonds that may be paying a little bit more in interest rates. That's competition, direct competition for QSRs, for a single tenant net lease, actually, not just QSRs, just
Right.
single tenant net lease across the board. So as those returns rise, then you're going to see the cap rates are going to have to compensate and rise as well. The nice part about that, though, is that even with that as competition, you still have good tax benefits for owning real estate.
Mhm.
In some cases, and getting away from QSR for a second, you can have accelerated depreciation of 15 years on like an auto use, like a gas station, a 7-Eleven with a gas station,
Right.
which can really help someone out. Money today is worth money tomorrow.
Mhm.
If you're not paying money on the taxes, it's just going to boost your return. Or
Right.
rather, I should say, if you're deferring the taxes,
Yeah, you're going to pay.
you're going to pay
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So let's hear your top choices for QSRs. Who you got?
Top choices for QSRs. And I'm going to go a little contrary because I think it's, everyone likes McDonald's and they're not necessarily it's safe. It's a safe investment, not necessarily my first choice
Safer,
because
I should say.
the cap rates are so low.
Right.
You're looking at anywhere from 3 to 4
Mhm.
on the cap rates. If it's a short-term lease in a tertiary market, you might be able to get up into 4.5.
Right.
4.75, but that creates risk itself. And so, I'm a little contrary to that. I like to actually look at, when I do my calculations, I look at not just the size of the company, but also how they're performing in relation to other quick service restaurants. Are their sales growing? What are the trends? What's the market like? Raising Cane's has always been on one of my top lists for the last 2-3 years. Their cap rates are getting pretty compressed or have been pretty compressed
Still,
lately.
it's a solid company.
But still, it's a solid company. I think it has potential for growth.
Yeah.
I think also Del Taco right now with the acquisition by Jack in the Box.
Oh yeah.
So they're going to be a national player, which is going to, you're going to be able to purchase Del Tacos at a cap rate that I'd say in 5 to 10 years are going to be compressed because of the size and growth that they're looking at. They've proven that they can go from a regional player, which was essentially California, Nevada, parts of Utah, and expand out. So they're doing well outside of those stronger areas that they were historically in. So I do like Del Taco as well. They're seeing a lot of investment in there. They've been traded twice in the last 5 years, both times for a big profit.
Yeah.
By private equity. One private equity company purchased them and then turned around and sold it to Jack in the Box.
Right.
The important part, though, is when you're analyzing this, I like the fact that they didn't really make major changes to the corporate structure of Del Taco.
Okay.
So they kept most of the people in. There was more for expansion and show that they can actually grow on a national level.
Okay.
So that, to me, that says something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Normally when a private equity firm buys.
Absolutely. My third choice for a investment in an STNL QSR
Mhm.
is actually a burger chain.
Which one?
So, I really like the Habit burgers. It's coming up. It is.
How big are they?
They're not that big. They started in Santa Barbara in California. They've been around since the 50s. But more importantly, Yum Brands just purchased them about a year and a half ago. So Yum Brands is a huge conglomerate. They own Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, KFC. They own and a few other brands. But the habit is they're investing quite a bit and they're expanding nationally like crazy. And a lot of the locations are corporate guaranteed, which is rare to find in some of the Yum brands. So you're still seeing some of the Yum brand corporate guarantees on the Habit burgers to help them with that expansion.
Okay.
So you're seeing that out there. They're doing really well. I do like them. It's a simple, easy, clean menu that's actually pretty good as well. And then I did promise you a fourth one. So my fourth one is always kind of like a keep your eye out for them.
Velvet Taco.
And actually, there are taco wars that are starting. So you got Rusty Taco, you have Velvet Taco.
Yeah.
I think Velvet Taco is going to overtake them.
Place.
Their sales figures are amazing.
Well, they're not very big yet, though.
They're not very big, so you have to keep a look at them. But you are starting to see them pop up for sale especially in the Texas and Oklahoma markets.
Okay.
So I've seen a few of them come on the market, and the nice part and amazing part for a taco chain, meaning, average McDonald's does just shy of $3 million a year in sales. A Taco Bell does around 1.8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Same with a Del Taco, right? Anywhere, they're between 1.6, 1.8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Velvet Taco is doing over $4 million on average per unit.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, every time I eat there is the quality of the food and the offering.
Yes.
It's different than anybody else. I mean, that's
absolutely. And their first locations didn't have drive-throughs. So they were doing these sales figures without the drive-throughs. So I expect the sales to actually even pop even higher when they're starting to build these build-to-suits with new drive-throughs coming in. So it's definitely something to keep your eye out on. I think they're going to grow like crazy.
Privately owned, or do they have?
Privately owned. Well, they did actually just get some infusion with some P&E money.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, they're prime. I mean, they would go perfect here in California.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the food, the quality of the food is really good. Okay, so if I want to start investing in this, now I know that if you want to check these out, folks, is QSRmagazine.com, plain vanilla shell. If you really want to get into QSR, you should be checking that out. Is there any other publications that they should be checking out?
QSR Magazine tends to be the Bible for me. Where I go to almost every single day to look at the news, see what's happening, what's going on, who's acquisitions, and whatnot. The rest I pick up just reading different magazines, different things. So, but that one is definitely focused straight toward quick service restaurants.
Now, how do you, you've got these clients that are buying this triple net stuff. How do you find the properties?
It's primarily network. I do have different resources that we take a look at. We look at probably close to 20, 30 sites a day, but also a lot of the properties that we end up selling tend to be off market or coming soon.
Okay.
So, we've been able to
So the brokers all see them before they go to the market. So
a lot of times.
So if you're going to really want to get serious about getting into this, then you're going to want to connect with a broker that's been doing it for a while, because I know that you do deals and, they're just a lot of them even aren't on the market yet. So, well, George, thank you very much for coming on today. I think this is a lot of information. We probably ran a little long, but it was too good to stop. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.